Let me start by painting the scene. My wife Lisa and I had been together for nearly 10 years. We met in college, got married right after. Our life looked perfect on paper. A nice house, steady jobs, a small circle of friends. We weren't the loudest couple in the room, but we got by. I never thought I'd find something that would shatter that quiet illusion until I did. It started with little things. She'd cancel plans last minute, brush off questions about her whereabouts with a tight-lipped smile. I'd catch her texting on her phone late at night, quickly shoving it face down when I walked into the room. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was just busy, maybe it was harmless. But deep down, I knew better. Red flags were waving in my head, but I refused to admit it. Then came the night I found the proof. It was a typical Thursday evening, and we had dinner plans for our anniversary. I remember the way she looked that night, smiling, wearing her favorite red dress, smelling like jasmine. I had that familiar flutter in my stomach, the kind you get when you're about to celebrate another year. We clinked glasses and toasted to our future, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. After dinner, I went to the living room looking for my phone charger. Her purse sat on the table, unzipped. Something caught my eye. Her phone was inside, screen lit up. Curiosity took over. I reached for it, unlocked it with the passcode I'd memorized long ago. That's when I saw it. The messages. They weren't just friendly exchanges. It was flirtation, a back and forth that went on for weeks. Her boss, William, was the name I saw. The words were subtle but clear enough. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing. I wish you didn't have to go home. My stomach sank. My palms went slick. How could she hide this from me? I sat there stunned, feeling like someone had punched me in the gut. I closed her phone, hands trembling. My mind raced. She was lying to my face, pretending everything was fine. But I wasn't just angry, I felt betrayed. I looked at her, sitting across the room, oblivious. Is this who she really was? I wondered if I even knew the woman I married. The woman I loved was out there, sneaking behind my back, sharing secrets with her boss. That night I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Every breath she took sounded like a betrayal. I couldn't sleep, my mind replaying that screen, that message. What did I do? How did I miss the signs? I felt like a fool for trusting her so blindly. The question gnawed at me. How long has this been going on? And what now? By morning, something shifted. I was already planning, trying to figure out what to do next. I knew I couldn't just confront her without evidence, without a plan. She had no idea that I'd seen everything. For now, I kept quiet, playing the long game. I had to. I needed proof, a way to force her to face what she'd done. Only then could I decide how to proceed. But I wasn't just hurt. I was furious. That feeling of betrayal was turning into something darker, something that gnawed at my insides. I knew I'd have to act, but I didn't want to do anything reckless. Still, I'd come too far to back down now. I'd find my way through this mess no matter what it cost me, and that's where I am now. Sitting here writing this, trying to make sense of it all. I still don't know who she is anymore. The woman I married is a stranger, hiding something I never expected. All I know is I can't let this go, not without a fight. And if she thinks she can keep this secret forever, she's dead wrong. I've got plans, and I'm about to make sure she pays for her lies. Next part. After the initial shock wore off, I realized I had two choices: confront her head-on and risk losing everything, or play it smart and gather what I needed to make her admit. I decided to do the latter. I couldn't trust her to come clean on her own. Hell, she'd already proven she was capable of lying without blinking. I started by digging a little deeper. Her phone was just the surface. I wanted to see if there were other signs, other conversations that might confirm my suspicions. I spent a few nights covertly checking her messages, her emails, her social media. Nothing blatant, but enough to confirm I wasn't imagining things. She was messaging William from a private email account, an alias she'd set up using a fake name. I found the email in the trash, half hidden under old receipts. I felt a surge of rage. How could she think she could hide this from me? How long had she been doing this? It wasn't just a one-time thing. It looked like a full-blown affair, a secret life she'd been cultivating behind my back. I could picture her, maybe at work, sneaking away for secret chats, fantasizing about someone else. It made my stomach twist painfully. That's when I decided I had to act. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I needed leverage, something undeniable, so I crafted a plan. I would confront her, but not just with words. I wanted to catch her red-handed in the act with something concrete in my hands. That meant setting a trap. I played it cool for a couple of days, pretending everything was normal, but I was gathering evidence. I set up a little sting of my own. I used her email account to send a message, simple, flirty, playful. Nothing explicit, just enough to get a reaction. If she responded, I'd know for sure that she was still in contact with William. Sure enough, the next evening I saw her sitting at the dining table, her phone buzzing. I watched her pick it up, read the message, and grin mischievously. I could feel my fists tightening, my stomach twisting again. She was still involved. That was the moment I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just confront her with words or questions. I needed proof that she couldn't deny. So I kept on my plan. I decided to follow her that weekend, catch her in the act, and get the proof I'd need to make her face this. I felt a strange mixture of anticipation and dread. And then I got lucky, or unlucky, depending how you look at it. She had arranged to meet William at a hotel downtown. I followed, kept my distance. I watched her go inside, her heels clicking on the pavement, her face glowing with that fake smile she wore when she was hiding something. I waited outside, cold wind biting into my skin, heart pounding. I saw her emerge a couple of hours later, face flushed, hurriedly trying to hide herself. That was enough. I snapped a few pictures. I felt a sick satisfaction knowing I had the evidence, but also a deep, burning pain. I was about to blow everything apart. I knew what I had to do next: confront her, show her I wasn't fooling around anymore. I'd have the proof and she'd have nowhere to hide. When I got home, I didn't say a word. I just placed the pictures on the table in front of her during dinner. Her eyes widened in shock. "What is this?" she asked, voice trembling. I looked her straight in the eye, cold and steady. "You tell me." She stammered, tried to deny it, but the evidence was right there. The hotel receipts, the photos, the messages I had screenshotted. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. Her face lost all color. That's when I saw the real guilt. Not just for cheating, but for lying, for sneaking around like a damn spy. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just told her, "We're done. You've made your choice. I'm not playing anymore." The silence was heavier than anything I could have shouted. In that moment, I knew my plan was working. But the real emotions hit me hard: anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I had to hold myself together, but I also knew I wasn't finished yet. I had a decision to make. How far was I willing to go? The evidence was there, but I wanted more. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. I was starting to see just how deep her betrayal ran, and I knew that if I wanted to come out of this with some dignity, I'd have to finish what I started. That meant a final move, a decisive one. Next part. Looking at her with that cold, hard stare, I saw her flinch. She knew she'd been caught, but the damage was done. I let the silence stretch for a long moment, just enough to make her uncomfortable. Then I finally spoke, voice low and firm. "You've been lying to me for months, haven't you?" Her eyes darted around, searching for a way out. "It's not what it looks like," she mumbled, voice trembling. "Oh, you mean the hotel, the messages, the secret meetings?" "Yeah, it looks exactly how it is." I shot back, my fists clenching. "You've been screwing around." "Behind my back, Lisa. How long has this been going on?" She looked away, tears welling up. "Please don't what? Don't tell you I know, or don't ruin what's left of our marriage." I cut her off, feeling a mixture of rage and heartbreak bubbling up. "You think you can just lie and cheat and I'll never find out? Not anymore." She finally looked at me, eyes brimming with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just what? You got bored, needed excitement. Or maybe William was just better in bed." My voice cracked a little, but I kept it steady. "Whatever it was, it's over now. I want you out of my house, today." The look she shot me was a mixture of desperation and guilt, but I didn't care. I'd made up my mind. I had to get her out, but I wasn't going to do it without making her understand how much she'd hurt me, and why I needed to take matters into my own hands. Over the next week, I planned my revenge carefully. I wanted her to feel the same betrayal I felt, only I was going to do it smarter, more calculated. I'd spent nights thinking about her, about William, about everything she'd thrown away. I wanted her to pay, but I also wanted her to suffer just enough to remember this moment forever. So I started by leaving small things behind: her favorite jewelry, her expensive perfume, things I knew she'd want to grab as she moved out. I left a few notes, nothing explicit but enough to make her uncomfortable. Things like, you can't hide from what you did, and some secrets have a way of coming back. I wanted her to know I was watching even if she didn't see me. The climax was planned for a secret meeting I'd arranged. I knew her routine now. She'd go to her mother on weekends, thinking she was safe. I followed her that Saturday, parked outside and waited. When she got into William's car, I snapped a few pictures. This time, I had more than enough evidence. I also planted a voice recorder in her purse, just in case she slipped up. I wasn't planning to confront her there. No, I wanted her to realize she'd been caught in the act on her own turf. That's when I'd strike. I'd let her believe she was free, then drop the bomb. I'd send the evidence, expose her publicly if I had to. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some fool, her fool. Back at home, I waited with a sense of calm that I didn't feel often. I knew she'd be back late that night. When she finally arrived, her face was pale, eyes darting. I met her at the door, cold and steady. "We need to talk," I said, voice emotionless. "And I have everything I need to prove what you've been doing." Her face crumpled. "Please, I can explain." "Save it," I cut her off. "You betrayed me, Lisa, and I'm not going to let that slide. I've got the evidence, the pictures, the recordings. You want to deny it, feel free, but I'm done pretending." She looked like she was about to break down, but I held firm. "You're out today, pack your things and leave. And don't bother trying to call me. I've had enough of your lies." As she packed her bag, I felt that strange mix of relief and emptiness. I knew I'd done what I had to, but it stung. I was losing the woman I loved, and I couldn't help but wonder how I'd ever trust again. The betrayal redefined everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I handed her the keys and the divorce papers I'd prepared. "Sign these," I told her, "and go. I don't want to see you or hear from you ever again." She hesitated, tears streaming down her face, but she signed. As she left, I closed the door behind her and finally felt a strange sense of closure. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Standing there alone, I realized something. Betrayal cuts deep, but sometimes you have to cut it out completely. No regrets, no second chances, just moving forward. Next part. The day she left, I felt an odd mix of relief and hollow emptiness. The house suddenly sounded too quiet, the silence louder than the fights or her whispers used to be. I sat down on the couch, staring at the door she just walked out. My stomach twisted, a combination of anger, sadness, and something darker I couldn't quite place. I kept replaying the past few weeks, the signs I ignored, the little lies, the betrayal. Now all I had was that evidence, and a feeling that I'd done the right thing, no matter how much it hurt. But I knew better than to think this was over. Betrayal doesn't just disappear, especially not when you have the kind of proof I had. Lisa wasn't just going to accept her fall from grace quietly. No, I knew she'd fight back, try to spin it, maybe even try to manipulate her way back into my life. That's why I decided I needed to be prepared for whatever she threw at me next. Over the next few days, I stayed cautious. I changed the locks, got rid of her stuff I didn't want cluttering my life, and kept my phone closed. I also hired a private investigator to confirm what I already suspected. She'd tell her friends she was just taking some space. But I needed to be sure she wasn't up to anything else. The pie confirmed it. She was already trying to spin her side, talking to her sister and a few mutual friends, claiming she'd just been overwhelmed and made a mistake. I wasn't about to let her rewrite history. I also started working on my own plan. I realized I needed closure, but I also wanted to make sure she felt the full weight of what she'd done. If she thought she could walk away and pretend none of it mattered, I'd make her regret every second of her betrayal. One night I sat at my desk, reviewing everything I had, screenshots, recordings, her social media posts. That's when I decided I'd take this further. If she wanted to lie, I'd give her a reason not to. I contacted a lawyer and started drawing up papers. I wanted her to see I was serious, that I wasn't going to roll over and forget. But I also wanted her to experience her own kind of punishment, not just through legal means, but through her reputation. I decided to leak a small part of the evidence online, anonymously, to see her reaction. Nothing explicit, just enough to make her realize I wasn't done. I watched her social media tumble with messages from friends, asking if she'd cheated, if everything she'd said was true. Her face during those calls was priceless: panic, guilt, helplessness. Meanwhile, I kept my distance. I'd made it clear I wasn't interested in any reconciliation, and I wasn't going to be sucked into a game of emotional tug-of-war. I had my dignity, and I wasn't giving her the satisfaction of seeing me break. I focused on work, on healing, and on reclaiming my life. Then came the night I got a call from her, sounding desperate. "Please, I just want to talk," she begged. I kept my voice steady. "No, Lisa, we're done. I've seen enough. Your actions have spoken for themselves." I told her I'd send her the legal papers, and that was the last I'd hear from her unless she wanted to sign. As I finally handed over the divorce papers, I felt a strange sense of closure. It wasn't revenge for revenge's sake. It was justice. I was taking control of my life again, removing her from it for good. I realized I no longer cared about what she thought or felt. The betrayal had been a wake-up call, one I needed to face head-on. That evening I went for a long walk, feeling the cool breeze on my skin, the city sounds around me, a symphony of moving forward. The house was empty, but I finally felt like I could breathe again. I knew this was the start of something new, even if it hurt. I had to remind myself that sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out the poison. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the red flags earlier. I wish I'd listened to that gut feeling that kept warning me. But I also realized that betrayal exposes true character. Lisa showed me who she really was, and now I had to accept that. I'm not perfect, but I'm rebuilding, and that's enough. Next part. The days that followed felt surreal. The house was finally mine again, but the silence was overwhelming. I had spent so long building a life with Lisa, and now it felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. I kept telling myself I'd done the right thing, but the ache of betrayal lingered deep. Every time I saw her face in my mind, I felt a fresh wave of anger and sadness. Still, I knew I had to keep moving forward. I threw myself into work and my hobbies, trying to distract myself from the gnawing emptiness. But no matter how busy I kept, the thoughts kept creeping back: what she'd done, how she'd lied, how I'd been so blind. I wondered about the future. Could I ever trust again? Would I let someone in knowing what betrayal felt like? These questions haunted me late into the night. One thing I realized was that I couldn't just erase everything overnight. That kind of pain takes time to process. I started seeing a therapist, someone I could vent to without judgment, someone who helped me untangle the mess inside. I didn't tell her everything right away, just bits and pieces. But even that small step started to lift some of the weight off my shoulders. Meanwhile, Lisa was out of my life, or so I thought. I made sure of it. I changed my phone number, blocked her on social media, and told her friends I didn't want contact. I wasn't interested in her apologies or explanations. Honestly, I didn't want to hear any more lies. I needed to heal, to get stronger. But the truth was, I was still angry. Not just angry at her, but at myself for trusting her so blindly. I kept replaying everything: the good times, the bad, her lies, trying to understand how I missed all the warning signs. I wondered if I'd ever see her the same way again, or if I'd always carry the shame of being duped. One night I sat in my living room, staring at the empty space where she used to sit. That's when I realized something. I was holding on to all this pain because I hadn't really decided what I wanted next. I was waiting for her to come back, to explain, to apologize. But she wasn't coming back. That truth finally sank in hard. I decided then that I had to do something about it. I needed closure, not just emotionally, but physically. I made a list of her things, things I'd kept, things I wanted to get rid of. I was going to burn the rest, burn away the past I couldn't fix. It was symbolic, like burning a chapter of my life and turning the page. The night of the burn, I sat outside with a metal trash can, a lighter, and her jewelry. I threw in her necklace, her earrings, her perfume bottle. Watching the flames consume her things was oddly cathartic. The crackle of burning material filled the quiet night, and I felt a strange sense of liberation. The past was burning away with the smoke, and I was finally letting go. That moment marked a turning point. I knew I couldn't rewrite the history, but I could control my future. I stopped blaming myself, stopped dwelling on what I couldn't change. Instead, I focused on rebuilding, rebuilding my confidence, my self-worth, my independence. I started dating again cautiously. It was strange at first, trusting someone new after everything. But I learned to listen to my instincts more. I didn't rush into anything, took my time to get to know people. I also made a promise to myself, never again to ignore the red flags or be blind to the signs of betrayal. Now I can say I'm in a better place, even if the scars are still there. I've accepted that some wounds don't heal overnight, but they do fade. And I've come to believe that I'm stronger than the betrayal. Lisa's actions didn't define me. My response did. Looking back, I realized that revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about taking back your power. I took back my dignity, my peace, and my life. I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar understands. You're not alone and you can survive. You can even thrive after the worst storms. Next part. Standing here now, I realize how much I've changed since that day she walked out. The house is quiet, but it's peaceful in a way it never was before. I still get flashes of pain, those moments when everything crashes down and I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again. But then I remind myself of what I've learned. Betrayal doesn't have to break you. It can reshape you, make you stronger in ways you never expected. I handed her the keys months ago, along with the divorce papers. It was a cold, calculated move, final, decisive. No hesitation. I wanted her to understand that her choices had consequences, that I was done being the fool she used to think I was. I didn't want to leave any room for doubt, any space for her to pull me back in. She signed, and I watched her walk out that door, a woman I barely recognized anymore. That act, her leaving with her bags, felt like reclaiming my life. Since then, I've taken deliberate steps to rebuild myself. I got a new apartment, started a new hobby, and focused on my career. I even got into therapy, something I'd avoided for years, because I knew that healing required confronting my own vulnerabilities. Through it all, I learned an important lesson. Betrayal reveals who someone truly is, but it also reveals who you are. And I realized I was stronger than I'd ever thought. I won't pretend I don't still feel the sting. There are nights I wake up with her face in my mind, the betrayal fresh again. But those moments are fewer and they fade quicker. I've learned to accept that some scars will stay, but they don't have to define me. I've also learned to trust again, slowly, carefully. Not everyone is the same, and I know now how to recognize the warning signs before they get too deep. Looking back, I can say with certainty that I did the right thing, not just for me, but for my own dignity. I refused to be a victim of her lies. Instead, I took control. I set my boundaries, cut her out of my life, and refused to let her betrayal ruin what was left of me. It hurt, yes, but the pain is a reminder that I survived that. I fought for myself. If there's one thing I want to share with anyone reading this, anyone in a similar situation, it's this. Don't ignore the red flags, trust your gut. And when betrayal comes, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out the poison completely. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Now I sleep better at night. I look in the mirror and see someone who's been through hell and came out the other side. Better, stronger, more aware. Whatever your situation, remember this. You are not alone. And the worst betrayal can become the catalyst for your greatest comeback. I'm finally at peace and I know I'll be okay. Because I chose to fight and I chose to move on. And that's what matters most.